Good morning. We are working on Algebra 2, Lesson 6.3, which is completing the square. And so we're going to factor, in this case when we start this, a perfect square trinomial. And we're going to end up with basically an area where one side of it is x plus 3 and the other side is x plus 3. This is the factorization as you're used to seeing this trinomial, but I'm going to show it to you visually using algebra tiles. Don't forget, by the way, that this is going to support algebra skill K9. Make sure that you upload this to my student view Dropbox or to my email by 11:59 p.m. Saturday. Don't forget the header. All right, so looking at the first term here is x squared. So I'm going to use algebra tiles this time around to show you that. So x squared is it's a square. We don't know what its side is. It's just worth x. So this side over here is x. This is x. X times x is x squared. Okay. Then we have 6x, and to form our square, we're going to take these pieces. This is a unit value of 1 at the top, and then it's x over here on the side, the unknown value, right? And so because we have 6 x's, we take 3 of these, that's 3 x's, and then down here in the bottom underneath x squared we put the last 3 x's, and that leaves a hole, and that hole completes the visual of the square. That's going to be the 3 times 3 or 9. How do I know this? Well, look, you've got 3 x's here and 3 x's here, so here's 3, here's 3, and when you multiply out 3 times 3, you get a total of 9. Okay, total of 9. So I know this is a little bit low. Let me see if I can bring it up just a little bit. There we go. So you can see the 9 pieces here that form your square. All right. So x plus 3, x plus 3, x plus 3 multiplied together gives you the area x plus 3 squared, which is what we're going to convert our perfect square trinomials in. When you have the same binomial multiplied to the same binomial, you can square it. So this is your perfect square trinomial. Because it has 3 terms. And this is your binomial squared, or square of binomial. All right? Okay, so here's another example. We want to factor another perfect squared trinomial. This is x squared minus 8x plus 16. So we're going to do the same thing. Here's our x squared. Now we have negative 8x, so I'm just going to turn these tiles over, and let me put them up here. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, but let's see. What times what equals 16 when added together? Let's see, what times what multiplied together equals 16 that when added together equals negative 8? Well, let's see. We could have 4 times 4 is 16, but that gives us positive 16. But negative, that would add up to 8, positive 8. But negative 4 times negative 4 also gives us positive 16, and when added together, negative 4 and negative 4 equals negative 8. So that's what we want. So that means I've got negative 8 x's. So I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then I'm going to do 4 on the bottom. I'm going to have to move this up just a little more. 4 on the bottom. So those are our negative 8 x's. So I've split them, notice, into 2 halves. I've got So now I'm going to, when I say halves, I've got half of the 8x is up here and half is down here, 4 and 4. All right, and then what's the 16? That means I've got to have 16 little x's, 16 of these in here. This is 1x by 1x, right? And so how do I know that? Well, I count 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 along the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4 x's along the side. 4 times 4 is 16. So I could fill that in easily, and I would have the 16 x's. Okay. So bottom line, it would be I would have x minus 4, which would be the top x. This, the red represents negative 4. And then at the bottom, x minus 4, or I should say on the side, x minus 4. And that would, again, if you were to multiply you would find out that you have negative 4x and negative 4x, so that's positive 8x. Same thing up here. You've got positive 3x and positive 3x up here, and those add up to 6x. So the rainbow, as we call it, always adds up to whatever the middle term is. That's your b term. All right, so then we're left, the last thing we do is we take x minus 4 and we square it. And that's going to be your answer for what you're doing there. Okay? All right, so that's basically how we factor these. We can either do it this way or we can do it this way. Either way is perfectly fine. Okay? All right, so now in our example, we're going to find the value of c that completes the perfect square trinomial. So this is what we're really doing today. So what is c? Well, remember, c is the first term of your standard form of your quadratic equation. So this is your a, right? This is your b, right? This is your c. So knowing that, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we want to create a perfect square, and we need to know what the c is going to be. Well, here's again your x squared, and so then we want our b is negative 10x's. Okay, so I'm going to, as we did before, we took half of them and we put them up here and half of them down here. So our c over here, which is what's going to be over here, it's going to be half of whatever our b is. So our c, this term, the third term, the stuff that's going to fit down here, is going to be b over 2. Whatever your b value is divided by 2. So we've got minus 10x's, so half of them are going to go up here. Half of them are going to go down here. Okay, so let's move this up just a little so you can see them all. All right, so you've got half of your, this is your b right here, all the red little x's. Negative 10x's, half above, half below. So that's b. So the half along the side that we want to find is going to be fully half of the x's. So that's b over 2. Now, we're going to square our result, right? We're going to square the result because we're going to take, this would be b minus 5x and b minus 5x, and we're going to square them. So the c is going to be a squared result. All right? Okay, so what we do then is we take our b, which is negative 10, and we're going to divide it by 2, and we're going to square the result. Okay? So what is negative 10 divided by 2? It's negative 5 squared. Negative 10 divided by 2, I'm sorry, is negative 5, but then we're going to square it. So negative 5 squared is 25. And this c is always positive. C is always going to be positive. And this is only going to work when you have just one x at this point. Okay, so let's look at the 1x. I'm going to pull my shade down. The sun has just started to show, so we're going to do this. Okay, now, knowing that, then we can write out our trinomial. We can take x squared, and that's minus 10x, right? And then we know what our c now is. It's plus 25. And we can then factor that into x times x, right? And then we have, so what times what equals 25 that when added together equals negative 10? Well, it's negative 5, isn't it? And by golly, this is the negative 5. So this is just, we just put that in there. Right? So now that we know that, then our solution comes down to x minus 5 squared. All right? So this is the square of the binomial, which is what we want, and this is our solution. All right? All right. So, enough of the algebra tiles. We should be able to take this now from where we're at, and we should be able to just do more of these, more of the same. So let's do that. So again, over here, we're going to start out with our c. C is going to equal b over 2 squared. The b is 16. So we've got 16 over 2 squared. And 16 divided by 2 is 8, so this is 8 squared. And that equals 81. Right? I'm sorry, not 81, 64. Boo-boo. 64. Okay? Equals 64. 8 times 8 is 64. All right. Well, knowing that, then, we can rewrite our trinomial with a c in it. So we now have x squared plus 16x plus 64, because this is our c. Okay? And then we can, and so this is, as I said, this is the perfect square trinomial. And this over here was the c, right? And then we want to also write the expression as the square of a binomial. So we just double bubble, we do the factorization. So we got x and x. And then what number multiplied together is 64, that when added together is 16? Well, it's 8, and it's this number here. Always it's this number that's been squared. So plus 8. Plus 8. So this is really kind of cool. You know, you can just go to look at the c before it's been squared, and you realize that that's the number that's the second term in your binomial. All right, so then you can rewrite this as a square. X plus 8 squared, which is what you want. That is the square of the binomial. All right. Okay, so now we're going to do x squared minus 9x plus c, so same kind of thing, right? C is going to equal b over 2 squared. The b this time is a negative number. It's negative 9, no biggie. So put negative 9 divided by 2, and we're going to square that, right? Okay, so you know, if I were to divide negative 9 by 2, it doesn't come up to a whole number. I could use a decimal if I wanted to, negative 4 over 5, but you know, I could just as easily leave this as the function that it is and just square the numerator and the denominator, and I think that's going to be easier. So negative 9 times negative 9 is 81, and 2 times 2 is 4. So 81 divided by 4 is C. And we can leave it as a fraction. So let me show you how that looks. So we just set this up as x squared minus 9x, and then our C is 81 divided by 4, right? So now we have our trinomial. We want to factor that, so we're going to go ahead and factor it. And so we've got x and x. Now, what number, this is, oh, looks weird. What number equals 81 over 4 when multiplied together, but when added together is negative 9? Oh, we just go back up to here. Remember, our C before it's squared is negative 9 halves. So this has got to be negative 9 halves. Right? So that means then the answer to this is x minus 9 halves squared. That is it. So do not be afraid of fractions. This isn't that bad at all. All right, now we come to D here. All right, ooh, this has a fraction in the B. Well, let's not again get frightened by that. Let's just see what happens. So we'll do our C again. C equals B over 2 squared. So in this case, B is 10 thirds. So we get 10 thirds divided by 2. That looks weird, doesn't it? Squared. Okay, so that is something that everybody is very frightened of. But that just means 10 thirds divided by 2. So what do we do with something like this? Well, do you remember keep, change, flip? So we're going to keep the 10 over 3. So this equals 10 over 3. We're going to change the 2 and flip it. So we're going to flip it. So the 2 is going to be 1/2. And that's all squared. So now just multiply across. 10 times 1 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6 squared. Now you can reduce this. You can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So this becomes 5 over 3 squared. Okay? And 5 over 3 squared is 25 over 9. Okay? Perfect. Again, you know, we had a fraction over here, so we got a fraction here. We should be able to do this. Piece of cake. So we rewrite our trinomial now as x squared plus 10 over 3x plus, and then it's 25 over 9. Right? Okay, so there's our trinomial. Now we're going to factor it. So we're going to do x plus something and x plus something. All right, so what numbers when multiplied together equal 24 over 9 that when added together equal 10 over 3? Oh, yes. I can go right back up here, remember? You got this. It's the 5 over 3 squared. So this is 5 over 3 plus 5 over 3. So you can always go back when you're looking for this, go over to here. The last thing that you did before you squared the number to come up with what C is. It's this in the parentheses. That's your second term. So this again simplifies to x plus 5 over 3 all squared. And this is your answer. Again, you can double bubble and double check, but remember 5/3 and 5/3 adds up to 10/3. 9/2 and 9/2. Let's see, that adds up to 9. Or negative 9/2. Negative 9/2 adds up to negative 9. And so on. All you need to do. So we're done with today, and the next lesson, lesson 6.4, we're going to take what we learned here, and we're going to use this and then solve for x. So we will use what we learned here and how we're going to solve for x. Okay. All right. So that is it. We're done for this particular video. And thank you very much. Have a great morning.